This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're talking about fighting the insurance company. If you've ever had to make a claim, you're dealing with an insurance adjuster, and maybe you've been in a wreck, maybe you've had something happen with your home and you've made a claim. You're hoping for the best. Well, good luck with that. I hope you have a good experience with it. But sometimes it's as bad as you feared it would be. Be careful when you're talking to the insurance adjuster. Be careful what you say. Don't sign anything until you've talked to a lawyer and you've gone over it with them, because you may, even just in talking about it, you may wreck your claim. So call in your questions tonight. The 31 Law Call number, 256-536-0077. You can call in and be live on the air and ask your question, or you can text us to that same number, and we've got some of your text questions tonight. You can also email a question any day of the week on any legal topic. You send it to lawcall@waaytv.com, and when we get to a show that's on point, we pull some out. We've got some of your email questions tonight about fighting the insurance company. Will League is here from Timberlake, League and Brooks. Good to have you here.
All right, Sherry, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. You've still got your mom, right?
I do. My mom, you know, thank you so much for everything you've done for us, and I know everybody out there who loves you like your mama. Happy Mother's Day.
My mom, Judy. What's your mom's first?
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Yep.
Happy Mother's Day, Charlotte.
Hero.
Happy Mother's Day, Judy. So we're talking about personal injury cases. We're talking about fighting the insurance company, and we've got some video for you to get you started. So we pulled some video off of YouTube. This one, okay. This guy had one job to do. All you need your buddy to do on the work site is hold your ladder for you.
I've had this exact case. We just resolved one about 3 months ago. Oh, goodness. Luckily.
I think he just got distracted, the guy holding. Thank goodness the guy fell. He looks like he's okay.
Yeah, so they're there. He's, hey, you got the ladder? You got it? I got it. Okay, should I walk somewhere?
Let me just
go away.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like they're...
Thankfully, he was able to hold it. You know, in the case that I had, similar situation, guy's supposed to be holding the ladder, gets distracted, goes somewhere else. Now, the question is, in this case, looks like, thank goodness, the man's okay.
Yeah.
Case we just resolved 3 months ago. My guy's at the top of the ladder, working, doing his thing. Next thing you know, he falls 35, 40 feet onto his back and hip, has back surgery, hip surgery.
Oh, no.
It gets serious. And so, who pays for his medical bills? Who pays? Is there any compensation? Depends on what type of case it is, okay? So let's assume, it looks like he was at work. Let's assume it's a straight workers' compensation case, meaning your employer has 5 or more employees and have workers' compensation insurance and is subject to the Workers' Compensation Act. In that case, the workers' compensation would send you to an approved treating physician to evaluate your injuries, and any future treatment that you received must be approved by the workers' compensation system. And the problem with that is oftentimes let's say you need surgery, and they say, oh, let's try physical therapy for 6 months. That's a lot of pain and suffering for you if you really need that surgery, right? And so it's difficult to maneuver through that process. In the other case, let's assume there's less than 5 employees, and that employee was negligent, he walked away or did something. In the case I worked on, the supervisor called over the employee that was manning the bottom of the ladder, and so therefore the supervisor knew that he was manning the ladder, called him over, he told the man, I'm holding this ladder for X, right? And he's his boss, follows his direction, ladder comes out, man goes down.
Ooh. Several
surgeries later, you know, when you've got hip surgery, back surgery, and you're doing physical type work, that makes it difficult to return.
Yeah.
And so your general liability policy of the owner of the company will step in and pay those claims. Pain and suffering, compensatory damages, get your medical bills, all those taken care of, and then for compensation for the nature and extent of your particular injury.
Can you ever sue your coworker? Like,
it's got to be
the guy at the bottom?
There's usually an exclusion for coworkers' liability, and so therefore it would fall under the Workers' Compensation Act. Again, if it's under the workers' compensation, you have 5 or more employees, and then you've got the carrier, a workers' compensation carrier. So usually the exclusivity provision under the Workers' Compensation Act keeps it within workers' comp, and that's what the defense wants, because it's a very poor body of law and does not compensate you like the traditional tort law would.
But you don't have to prove anybody did anything, but you just...
There are some benefits. You don't have to prove that. All you got to prove is you were during the line and scope of your duties, and that you weren't involved in type of horseplay.
Okay.
And so their standard is not as high.
Yeah.
The benefits are minuscule compared to outside the Workers' Compensation Act. It sure is.
We've got callers waiting with questions. We've got Ali on the line with a question from Russellville. Hi, Ali. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Can you hear us, Ali?
I hear you talking, but boy, I hear something. Ali, what's your question tonight? And just listen through your phone. Turn your TV down if you have it on.
I can't hardly hear you.
I'm sorry. What's your question tonight, Ali?
Yes, I have a friend that I'm trying to help. I've been trying to help him for the last 2 years almost. He has a lawyer here, and I've been trying to help him to get his case solved because somebody hit him from behind in Huntsville. Somebody hit him from behind.
Okay.
And the lawyer that he has, I asked for him. I asked for my friend that is it okay if when is they gonna finish his case? Well, it's been almost 2 years. The lawyer said that it was gonna take. It could take a lifetime. I've never heard of that before.
Okay, so let's talk about how long does it take. I certainly hope they have filed if it's been 2 years.
Ali, what kind of medical treatment was involved? Do you know?
He didn't have a lot of medical treatments, but he had his vehicle. He had to get his vehicle paid for.
Right.
Towing fees and all this other stuff.
Okay. And was there any injuries as well?
Excuse me?
Well, did he have any medical treatment at all?
Yeah, he did have some, but it was minimal.
It was minimal?
But
okay.
Yes.
All right, so there's several.
He was also hit from behind, like I said, and the lawyer told me it could take a lifetime, and I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, that seems like quite a long time for a rear-ender collision, no question. Lifetime, I've never heard of that either, so I hear you. And there's several reasons why the case can drag on, okay? Number one is, let's say you don't have all the evidence. In this case, it sounds like there was not a lot of medical treatment. The value of the car is finite, so therefore, was it damaged or totaled? And so you should be able to quantify the harm or damage to the vehicle. Does it need to be replaced? Does it need to be repaired? What is that time frame? So you will write the insurance company. Usually 95% of these cases, we're dealing with an insurance company. Sometimes the defendant does not have coverage, so you're dealing directly with the defendant. That makes things more difficult, okay? And so there's a 2-year statute of limitations, which the claim must be filed within 2 years, and that is really a safeguard against the case taking a lifetime, because once you're in the court system, then you get on the court's docket and you're in line for your trial date to determine who caused the wreck, what's the nature and extent of your injuries, and what's the extent of damage to your vehicle. So when it's your turn to go to court, you come in, you can testify about the nature and extent of damage to your vehicle. However, you need expert testimony to come in to talk about the nature and extent of your injuries. And so oftentimes, let's say medical treatment lasts longer and longer and longer, and it takes a while for you to quantify all the medical bills. Is there a permanent impairment? Is there a permanent injury? It's something that's going to get better with time. And so oftentimes lawyers are waiting on that to determine what the value of the claim is before engaging with the insurance company. Let's say you get all that information in, and then you talk to the insurance company, then you cannot agree on a value. You think the case is worth this, the insurance company thinks it's way down here. There's only 2 ways to get an insurance company to do anything. One is if they agree to, and the other is if you make them. And so in that case, you would have to file the case with the appropriate court, depending on the size, the estimated size of the case, whether it be a district court or circuit court, if you're talking about state court, and federal has different jurisdiction requirements. And so once you file that case, you wait your turn, and then you go and prove your case. So I don't think it's going to take a lifetime, but you need all those elements to prove your case properly and to get it up to court. And again, if the insurance company is just not agreeing, or there is no insurance company, oftentimes you are forced to go through the litigation process. So it's not unusual for them to take 2 years. We tried a case a few months ago that happened in 2019.
Wow.
Some judges' dockets go faster than others, depending on what type of cases they have in front of you. And so oftentimes that's a barrier to a quick resolution. And let's be honest, the insurance companies, since we're fighting them tonight on LawCall, the longer they take, the longer they stretch this out, people lose heart. People don't want to go through with it. I'm tired of dealing with it. I just want it over with. And a lot of that's by design, and it's unfortunate. But hang in there. I'll tell you, buddy, to hang in there. But to get with his attorney, if it's almost been 2 years and it hadn't been filed, the claim will be unable to be filed because you're going to miss the statute of limitations. And that's something, if you don't heard the thing that I said, make sure the statute of limitations are complied with.
We have got some email questions that came in. We've got this one from Tatum. Tatum had written in, the insurance company of the man who crashed into me has offered me a settlement on my car. Should I trust them? How do I know their offer is a good one? Trusting insurance companies?
Well, so I want to use the word trust because they've got a job to do.
That's right.
And their policy, the insurance company's policy and procedures, Sharon, have devolved or evolved over the last, several decades. And basically, their job is taking premiums and pay as little on claims as they can. It's frustrating. Don't blame them, but that's the job. That's the nature of the role that they play. So should you trust them? No, you can trust but verify. So again, the value of your car, it's a finite number. What's the damage? How much is it going to take to repair it? If the car's totaled more than 75% of its value, then they have to total the vehicle. What's the fair market value of that vehicle on the day of the wreck? Go on Blue Book, Black Book, NAD, NADA. All those things can tell you the value of your car. Go talk to your dealership. So find out the value, do the research yourself, and then at least have an idea in hand to see if the insurance company's offering you a reasonable settlement for your vehicle. If they are, great, you can resolve it. If not, again, there's only two ways. One is they agree, the other is if you make them. So you can file a claim with a district or circuit court against the other driver. You have to prove the other driver caused the wreck and the damage to your vehicle. And so should you trust them? I don't know, just verify it and do your homework. That's what we tell our clients.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We've got some new text messages in from callers, and call in and be live on the air with us, 256-536-0077. Be right back.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call. Your rights, your calls, live. Presented by the Tennessee Valley's award-winning personal injury and wrongful death law firm, Timberlake, League & Brooks. Featuring the knowledge and experience of Attorney Michael Timberlake, Attorney Will League, Attorney Heath Brooks, Attorney William Maservi. And hosted by broadcaster and family law attorney Sharon Doviet. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. Tonight we're talking about fighting the insurance company. But before we've got some callers waiting and we've got some new text in. It's a brim rodeo.
Right. We're having a fishing tournament. Got together with some wonderful sponsors, Bryant Bank, Samples Properties, ABS Systems, Damson Automotive, Taco Mama, and for the benefit not one more. If you remember, the opioid crisis and epidemic is costing lives, and basically we're having kids, young adults, overdose on fentanyl and things that this horrible disease, horrible addiction that was sparked by the opioid epidemic. And basically, it's a fishing tournament, a brim tournament. You're fishing with crickets and worms, and your largest 7 fish, you weigh in, kids get together, there's a water slide. And
fun. And
so raising money for a great cause and getting out and teaching the kids a little bit of outdoorsmanship, a little fishing. So who doesn't like to catch a brim every night?
Saturday the 17th, starting at 8 in the morning.
That's right.
7:30 check-in.
That's right. So, we pick a different charity each year, and this year Not One More was just on on our hearts and minds, and just going to try and benefit them and try and bring some funds and
great.
And recognition their way.
Love
sure
that you
are.
guys do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're talking about fighting the insurance company. Don is on the line with a question from Huntsville. Hi, Don. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight? What are you dealing with?
Well, at the time, I had somebody work on the car.
Okay.
And it had insurance. But it's been over almost 3 years since we got the car back. We haven't gotten the car back, and we made a police report, and they have not made any substantial effort. The only thing we've heard is this individual who worked on the car has done it to 2 or 3 other people. Now, is my insurance liable because my car is stolen? Basically, it's stolen.
Right.
Huh.
So, Don, you took your car to a guy, he was going to work on it, car had never been seen again. Is that basically it?
Paid. And he's been paid.
And he's been paid. I hear you, right? All right, well, you're on the right track. It's 2 things. One, it's theft, right? And that's a criminal case. and the other is conversion, which is civil theft, if you will. We just filed a civil case a few months ago, a civil conversion case a few months ago. And basically, you know, under the criminal law action, they get punished. Maybe there's, you know, some type of retribution, jail time, things like that. On the civil case, we're getting money damages for the value of your vehicle that was stolen. Sounds like you've done a police report. I'd look at your insurance policy to see if it covers theft. So, but if your car's stolen, insurance company on most policies should cover that. So I would make a claim with your insurance company. Now you'll lose your deductible, but again, let's say your car's worth $10,000 and you got a $1,000 deductible. They'll pay you $9,000 based on your policy. It's a conversion case. You should have coverage. Call your insurance agent and then make a claim and provide them with a copy of that police report. 3 years is long enough for the car to soon be gone.
Okay, now is he going to have a problem if I don't know if he's still been paying the insurance on this car all this time. So if he doesn't have the insurance now,
well, if he doesn't have it now, but if he had it during the
ago?
time of the theft, it should retroactively cover his damage. That's a good point. That's a good point. And so make sure you go through those exclusions. But I'd go ahead and make a claim and make them prove it's not covered for you.
Okay, we got a text question in. How long should it take for a claims adjuster to give you an estimate on a vehicle and send you reimbursement? This person was involved in an accident February 2025, so just a couple of months ago.
Right.
And the claims adjuster hasn't even inspected the damages and they won't return calls or messages.
You know, as we talked earlier about, there's only two ways to get an insurance company to do anything, and one if they agree to, and oftentimes they do, and the other is to file a lawsuit. In this particular case, the wreck happened in February 2025. It's now May. That's a bit of time. I get it. They have to provide you a rental car, but let's assume there's not enough coverage and you run out of insurance on a rental. Then you run into problems. But let's assume first there's enough coverage. They have to provide you a rental car until they offer you a fair market value on your particular vehicle. I know it's inconvenient, but again, you've got a car to drive under those circumstances. If they don't offer you a car to drive, or don't, you know, and then they're dragging their feet, you have to go rent a car. Then the money you spent renting that car, you're gonna have to go with them to repay that and get reimbursed for those things. There's another alternative. You can go ahead and go to your own insurance company, ask them to do an evaluation on your vehicle, work out whatever price is with them. Again, you'll lose your deductible, but when your insurance company gets their money back from the defendant's insurance company, you will receive that deductible back. So is it unusual for it to take this long? It normally doesn't take this long. They're overworked. There's less adjusters than there used to be. And I get it's frustrating. You may want to hang in for a little while longer, but those are your options if you want to go ahead and take action. Go ahead and go to your carrier. And I'll oftentimes tell people to go ahead and do that to speed things up because you're ready to get your life back on track. You were hit by somebody. It wasn't your fault. I get it. You've got insurance. Use it. They can get their money back from the other carrier.
Okay, we got this text. I just had surgery because of a shoulder injury from work and I'm under workers' comp. I'd like to know if I can get a lump sum payment for having the surgery done.
Not for having the surgery.
Okay.
If just because you have the surgery, all that entitles you to is your medical bills paid. Okay. And if the surgeon let's say your shoulder was 100% before the workers' compensation injury, and now the doctor says, you know what, we repaired the labrum, we repaired the rotator cuff, the supraspinatus, and it was a major surgery. Although we did the surgery, there's a 10% impairment. So based on that 10% impairment, you put in the formula for the workers' compensation claim, and basically what your average weekly wage goes into that formula along with your impairment rating, and that spits out a number that what your shoulder's worth. It can be a lump sum, or the company can elect to pay it over time in weeks. So you don't get a lump sum just for having surgery. There has to be an impairment associated with that surgery. Typically, it's not a lot of money for what you would think. In the workers' compensation arena, let's say a shoulder's worth, I'm making up numbers, $22,000 based on your wage and all the other variables in the workers' compensation formula. In a traditional tort claim, shoulder surgery with a 10% impairment could be a range from $50,000 to $200,000. So it's a substantial difference being outside of the Workers' Compensation Act, which severely limits what you can and can't recover. Remember back in the industrial age, people would get hurt, maimed, burned in these horrible factories, right? And there was not any recourse. And so the law the Congress got together with big business and basically formulated a workers' compensation provision. Let's at least get these workers some type of care to get their medical bills paid, but let's not have the exorbitant payouts in the business view. Yeah. And so they came up with a compromise, and frankly, it's against the worker to be straight up about it. because the benefits are poor. And a lot of times you're really fighting to get that surgery, and a lot of times you're just trying to get back and so you can make money for your family. And when you're paycheck to paycheck, it's a big deal.
Okay, this may be the same kind of question. I've got a question. I was in a wreck 2 weeks ago, haven't heard anything from anybody. I leave voicemail after voicemail. Is that a tactic? I heard what you said. They can either agree to it or you sue them. Take them and force them to do it. But is this a tactic if you're leaving voicemails and nobody's calling you back?
Sometimes it's difficult to get an adjuster to call you back. They're busy. The voicemail situations and all that, but it's not unusual. Stay at it, keep hold of it, stay persistent, stay in contact with your adjuster. Hopefully they will give you a buzz back. But again, if they do not, go to I just go and sit down and talk with a lawyer, and you can also go to your own carrier. And sometimes you don't get the response that you're looking for there as well, but at least it's another avenue for you to pursue that's parallel to the defense insurance avenue to at least get your car paid for, get your rental car, get the repairs that you need to at least start the process. And again, if none of those work, then you got to go to the courthouse.
Got an email question from Tim. Tim says, my doctor's recommended I have surgery for a long-standing condition, but the insurance company refuses to pay for it. Is that legal? It ought to be the doctor's call what treatment I get.
Okay, again, depends on what type of injury. Is it in the workers' compensation? We're really hammering on workers' comp tonight,
Right.
But again, you have to have an approved workers' compensation physician. And what that means is the workers' comp will not pay those medical bills if you don't go to the doctor of not yours, but their choosing. And if you need that surgery and the doctor will not prescribe it or refer you, then you've got to go through the system and get a panel of 4. And to be honest, those panel of 4s oftentimes are cherry-picked by the insurance company. And so oftentimes you cannot get the insurance company to pay for it, even if it's recommended by a workers' comp doctor. And then they can hire an independent medical review, somebody out in some far states away, review your records, deny your claim, and that's the pitfalls of a workers' compensation claim.
We'll be right back. If you haven't gotten your questions answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with Will League with Timberlake, League & Brooks. They do personal injury cases, so that's everything from car accidents, medical malpractice, workers' comp. We talked a lot about that tonight. 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com. And if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And our very own Sharon Doviet, family law attorney, child support, child custody, divorce, 539-7337, SharonFamilyLaw.com. Sharon, I had one more talk about, about the workers' compensation and the getting your doctor, to getting your treatment approved. Basically, and most docs are out there trying to help folks get the treatment they need and want to put them in the right direction. If you've got private insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, you can go to a doctor of your choice that's in network, and then you can get a referral to an expert if that doctor feels like you have, the symptoms to warrant that. So you're not without, the private insurance is much better than workers' comp, and explore all avenues if you can.
Good information. Good night.